I'm Brer Rabbit, and this is Johnny 5. We're in the Flobots. We're a band, and for those of you who are not familiar with our work, I think we could be described as a Rage Against the Machine light. So we're definitely a band with an agenda. And as such, we've been musicians, advocates, and educators for the better part of 10 years. Let's see, as musicians, we've been deliberately trying to connect people through their pain to their power.
And as advocates, we're always looking for ways to help people engage with the issues in their community.
And as educators, we're looking at the power of curiosity to deal with tough, challenging issues and making it fun and challenging and engaging.
Meanwhile, as people, we're trying to keep our own fires lit and stay in touch with what keeps us going. So you all seem like people. We're going to do a quick survey. Raise your hand if you ever feel lonely, isolated, or disconnected. Ooh. Okay. But raise your hand if you have more than 50 Facebook friends. Aha. We are living in a paradox, right? Ostensibly more connected than ever, but yet we're experiencing isolation, disconnect, insecurity, anxiety. And we know the impact because we all feel it in our own ways. I feel it, and our job is to regularly get cheered at by crowds full of people. But yet I feel it. But of course we all feel it. Because you know what? Everyone wants to belong. Everyone wants to feel useful. Everyone understands that loneliness is real. And every single one of us has the ability to feel like we're not enough. So these patterns of isolation, they reflect a deeper thirst in the zeitgeist. But we're not here just to describe the thirst. We want to quench it. That's why we are on a search for girge. That's right, we made up a word. We're rappers, we're allowed to do that. We have a license to. In fact, I think it's called a license to ill. But let's just think of girge as a new element, right? An energy source, one that we have only glimpsed. We've only experienced it in these tiny glimpses in our own lives.
And just to give you all some context about this search, Jamie and myself, we've known each other since I was in the 4th grade and he was in the 5th. So when we're going back through our histories looking for it, of course we find each other there. Now, we're talking about this word that we made up, girge. But do y'all want to see what girge looks like? Are y'all ready? Okay. You ready? Bam! All right? It's dog piles. It's the 90s. It's kids breaking curfew rules and doing whatever they want on a merry-go-round. Yes. When I think about my time in high school and middle school, it's this exuberant celebration of life despite anything that I remember. And I'm barely pictured in there. Some set of legs are mine there. I'm deep in the bottom of that pile having the time of my life. But also not pictured is the fact that 4 years before that photo was taken, my mother died. And when my mother died, my father made himself largely absent. So I grew up without much adult supervision. I went to bed hungry 9 times out of 10. I contemplated self-harm. I barely slept. But somehow, in that situation, I was still okay. And if you look at that photo, something else not pictured is a cross-section of teenage pain. There are so many young people there who are dealing with terrible divorces or abuse, neglect, drug abuse, severe poverty. You name it, all of these young people are experiencing all of these things, and still they're okay. Somehow, by necessity, this group of young people found something that connected them beyond their circumstances and allowed them to not only thrive, but not only survive, but thrive. And if we hadn't found this girge, I can tell you I wouldn't be here today.
So, looking at our own history, let's distill some of the characteristics of girge, right? Girge is a place where you can be of use. Girge is a source of companionship. Girge is being seen and celebrated, and it involves rituals of inclusivity. And finally, at the end of the day, it has to feel good.
Now, we're not just going to get theoretical here. That's not what this is about, right? So even in the process of us trying to find this in our adult lives, we've been uncovering tools here and there that work. And we actually found a tool that we were able to use that changed a crowd into a feeling of community in about 2 minutes with 2 questions. And so this photo right here is from a month ago at Youth on Record, a nonprofit that we helped found. And that's Yo-Yo Ma embracing our student Sean Don. 2 minutes got these 2 people to this level. And they were not the only ones. We did this exercise with them and then did it with this crowd of hundreds of people. And we want to talk about what made that happen. Now, Phil earlier talked about a superpower that we have to believe in things that aren't true. We also believe there's a superpower that we need, which is a superpower of visibility. Not to be confused with the power in comic books of invisibility. Because we feel like invisibility is actually our cultural default in America. We are trained to be blind to each other's needs. And we believe that, so we know that anytime we come to a space that we won't be seen, so how can we trust it to use our gifts? How can we trust it to be a good place for us? But I want you to look at this, another photo of the 2 of them. Do you see how real that is? That's something that I think that we all want, and it's very possible. But we have to be able to create containers where we can be seen by each other. So, I saw how y'all did with Ben's performance. Well, not performance, with his talk. So I know you're ready to go there, right? You all can be just as brave as Yo-Yo Ma and Sean Don, right?
There's some energy in this room.
There's some energy in this room, correct? All right, let's push it. I mean, don't you want to feel seen a little bit? Don't you want to be connected just a bit more than we always are? Yes, fantastic. Thank you for y'all. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask those 2 questions, and we're going to ask them of ourselves, okay? The first question is, what do you want somebody to know about you that they don't know? And it's not like, oh, I like strawberry ice cream. No, we're going to go a little bit deeper than that.
It is important.
It is important. It's very important. And also we want you to, the second question is, why do you do what you do? All right? And we're asking like for a real life purpose, like why do you do what you do? So Jamie and I are going to model it. And the things that we're going to say to each other, we actually haven't said to each other. Right. So we're going to do this real live for you just to model the full process. And then after we share, you're going to thank your partner, all right? Jamie, I have known you forever. And something I need you to know about me is that I am very serious in saying that I would not be here without you. Your friendship has been something that has always been there for me. When adults have not been there, when nobody was there to help me, I never had to ask for help because you were always there. And that affects why I do what I do, because I want to be the kind of friend that you've always been to me. And I thank you for it.
Stephen, something I want you to know about me is that I know you know middle school was hard, but there was a time in middle school where none of the friends in my grade, they wouldn't call me back. And I remember what it was like just to call people and have them, hear them on the other line saying, well, tell them I'm not here. And I remember just feeling that level of exclusion. And that was the time period where you were always there for me. You were always available, and you were always made me feel so valued. And even today, like I struggle with feelings of value, of worthiness. Art making is so subjective. It's so easy to not know if it's worth anything. But the reason I do what I do when we do what we do is because I want other people to feel lifted up, those people that are also feeling isolated in that same way.
Thank you. Can I give you a hug, man? So we don't have 2 minutes, we've got 1. So we're hoping that you all can find a partner, all right, real quick, 30 seconds each, all right? Tell them something you want them to know about you and why you do what you do. It's time to listen and be heard. And when I say okay, that means we're going to bring it back, all right? Go. I know it's short, but switch if you can. Switch if you can, beautiful people. Okay. All right, y'all. How did that feel? How did that feel? Does the room feel just a little bit different than when we began? Right? I mean, how many of you want to just hug the person you just talked to or like just thank them profusely for that show of strength and vulnerability? If you want to, go ahead and ask permission. Go ahead and just do that if you want to. If like ask permission and all those things, but just do that. Let's get that gratitude going. That is a glimpse of what we are talking about.
Mm-hmm. So what this room feels like right now, that was from a 2-minute tool. And one of the things we've been doing is we've been on this search, we've been experimenting with different tools, trying to figure out how we can make sure that the room feels the way that we want it all to feel, that the feeling in the room reflects the world that we want to see. We think it is so vital that we keep searching for ways to be even closer to one another. And that's why we are on a search for girge. Thank you for helping bring us one step closer.
Thank you.